So let's just dive right into this. When you hear a phrase like global peace, what actually comes to mind? For most of us, it's probably massive international treaties, high level diplomatic meetings at the UN, or just abstract concepts that feel, frankly, a million miles away from our everyday lives. But what if peace isn't just something that gets decided at the very top? What if it's actually something you actively build step by step, right in your own neighborhood? In this explainer, we're going to look at exactly how that happens. We'll see how the abstract, sometimes lofty concept of peace translates into highly tangible, community-level actions.
To really understand how this works, we are going to look closely at the Humans for Peace Institution, or HPI for short. HPI is a Canadian, volunteer-driven, not-for-profit organization. And I've got to tell you, they aren't just making a small local splash. They are literally a United Nations-recognized NGO. What we're exploring today is what we call the ripple effect. It's the idea of how HPI acts as this incredible catalyst, using relentless on-the-ground volunteer action to create waves of positive change that start right at home and eventually wash over the entire globe.
Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. First, we'll cover the vision of peace. Second, empowering generations. Third, celebrating multicultural connections. Fourth, expanding humanitarian reach. And finally, leadership and partnerships. Okay, let's jump straight into Section 1, the vision of peace. This is the foundation of HPI.
And it all starts with an absolutely incredible number, over 5,000. This isn't just a small, casual group of well-meaning neighbors meeting up on weekends. HPI has managed to build a dedicated network of more than 5,000 volunteers. Think about that for a second. When an organization can mobilize over 5,000 people from totally diverse backgrounds to freely give up their time for a common cause, that speaks volumes. It really proves their credibility and the absolute magnetic pull of their mission.
And here is the exact vision that unites those 5,000 plus volunteers. A peaceful world where every person lives with dignity, respect, equality, and security. It's a beautifully clear statement, right? But what makes HPI so fascinating is that they don't just leave this as some lofty quote framed on an office wall. They use it as the grounding principle for their day-to-day work. Every single program they run is deeply rooted in the pursuit of these universal human rights.
So how exactly do they turn that grand sweeping vision into reality? Well, they use a highly specific, multi-pronged mission. They are actively promoting peace while preventing violence. They're working to identify and support vulnerable populations. They heavily encourage civic engagement and volunteerism, promote interfaith understanding, and actively work to build inclusive communities. This is the real actionable framework that takes the dream of peace and turns it into something you can actually measure in a community.
Which brings us nicely to Section 2, empowering generations. It's all about seniors and youth.
You see, a truly peaceful community looks after everyone, regardless of what year they were born. For older adults, HPI runs seniors programs, like the Seniors for Peace Project. These programs bring diverse seniors together to share their traditions, build friendships, and ultimately reduce social isolation while promoting active aging. Meanwhile, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, their youth and children programs, like Children for Peace and Youth for Peace, are out there teaching respect, kindness, and leadership. So they are simultaneously honoring the wisdom of the older generation while actively training up the global citizens of tomorrow. It's a fantastic balance.
But it's not all just social gatherings. They also tackle some very modern, very pressing threats. Under their Senior Digital Literacy Program, which is actually supported by the Government of Canada's New Horizons for Seniors program, they run educational workshops to empower seniors against fraud. We are talking about fighting financial scams, online fraud, and identity theft. And notice that focus on AI-enabled scams? HIP is right on the cutting edge here, making sure our vulnerable elders are digitally connected, for sure, but also actively protected from the newest, most sophisticated cybersecurity threats out there today.
Now, for the younger crowd and their new recruits, HPI offers a highly structured volunteer development path. Volunteers don't just show up and stand around waiting for instructions. First, they focus on gaining real-world, practical skills. Second, they take those skills and apply them by directly supporting vulnerable communities locally. And then third, they graduate to participating in much broader humanitarian initiatives. It's an incredibly effective, step-by-step pipeline for developing the future leaders of peace. Moving on to Section 3, celebrating multicultural connections. Here we look at diversity as a strength. HPI really operates on the core belief that diversity is a major strength.
Take their signature event, beautifully titled Your Culture is Beautiful. It's designed specifically to celebrate cultural traditions, music, food, arts, and heritage. Alongside their multicultural community events and their major Canada Day activities, HPI is actively bringing families, newcomers, youth, and seniors completely together in the same room. I mean, think about it. Sharing a meal or listening to music from another culture is honestly one of the most direct, impactful ways to build interfaith and intercultural understanding right from the ground up.
All right, Section 4, Expanding Humanitarian Reach. Let's look beyond borders. Now we are expanding this ripple effect to its absolute widest point. HPI dedicates significant resources to global and health-focused initiatives. They are deeply involved in providing vital medical support, running massive health awareness campaigns, which crucially includes mental health and wellness education, and offering direct refugee and newcomer support. They are basically taking all that organizational muscle they've built up locally and applying it to provide dignity, compassion, and humanitarian assistance to those who need it the most, regardless of where they live. And finally, Section 5, Leadership and Partnerships. This is how they make it all possible. So how does a volunteer-driven organization actually pull all of this off? Well, it comes down to a highly organized executive team. You've got the visionary leadership of President and founder Dr. Jamal al-Sharif driving the global peace advocacy. Then you have vice presidents like Dr. Abdallah al-Badarneh handling the heavy lifting of operations, and Dr. Yusur Qasim focusing on program development. Ms. Somia Abulmakaya is specifically dedicated to women affairs, driving empowerment and equality. And Mr. Eric Purdy manages technology affairs, keeping a close eye on digital transformation and security. They even have dedicated managers for youth, seniors, arts, and multicultural affairs. This isn't just some loose collective of people. It's an expertly structured dream team designed to drive incredibly diverse community affairs. And let me tell you, that level of organization brings massive authority. HPI definitely isn't going it alone. They are backed by an incredibly impressive ecosystem of federal government funders. We are talking about direct support from the Government of Canada, Employment and Social Development Canada, Service Canada, and Heritage Canada. When institutions of this massive size formally trust and financially back an NGO's mission, it completely validates the immense measurable impact that HPI is having on the ground.
But, and this is crucial, they absolutely haven't lost their local roots. Even with all that federal backing, they are still actively collaborating with major local institutions. We're talking places like CHIO, a major pediatric health and research center, as well as the Ottawa Chinese Community Service Center, the Darkanian Foundation, and Indo-Caribbean organizations. By weaving themselves right into the existing fabric of educational institutions, health organizations, and cultural networks, HPI ensures their programs are deeply and authentically rooted in the very communities they serve. As we bring this whole narrative home, it really all circles back to this one core belief. Together, we can build a more peaceful world. Throughout this explainer, we've seen their core triad in action. They are building peace through intercultural events, empowering communities through their youth and senior programs, and creating positive change through their vast humanitarian networks. It's like a giant puzzle, and all the pieces work perfectly together in harmony. And the best part is, they are always looking to expand that network. If you're watching this and you represent a government, a foundation, a corporation, or honestly, if you are just an individual who wants to step up and make a difference, you can reach out to them directly. Visit humanspeace.org or use the email or phone number to partner with this United Nations recognized organization. Which leaves us with one final, very important question to end on. What ripple of peace will you start today? We've just seen how 5,000 volunteers can literally change the world by starting right in their own backyards. Whether it's teaching a senior how to spot an AI scam, sharing a cultural meal with a neighbor, or helping send medical support abroad, peace isn't just an abstract idea up in the clouds, it's an action. So how are you going to step up and become part of this global solution? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.